Welcome right into this explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating, the logic of resurrection. We're going to explore a philosophical connection that takes a biological event we literally witness every single year and uses it to answer one of humanity's oldest, most profound questions. We're looking at the changing of the seasons, not just as, a change in the weather, but as a deeply logical argument for human resurrection. It's a seriously compelling perspective, so let's just jump right in.
Section 1. The Great Winter Awakening, or Kishtan Bahara Biyuk Uyanish. I want you to just picture a deep winter landscape for a second. The trees are completely bare, the ground is frozen solid. It looks so utterly lifeless, you'd think absolutely nothing could ever grow there again, right? We've all felt that bleak midwinter chill. And yet, in just a matter of weeks, as the season turns, that seemingly dead earth miraculously bursts back into chaotic, vibrant life. It's this incredible awakening that we honestly just take for granted.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer mathematics of the springtime revival. According to the source material we're analyzing today, we aren't just talking about a few trees getting their leaves back. We're talking about more than 300,000 different plant and animal species that wake up, rebuild, and literally resurrect every single spring. Think about that. Hundreds of thousands of distinct, infinitely complex biological blueprints brought back from the cold dead of winter, all at the exact same time and in perfect harmony. It's mind-blowing.
And this brings us to a really sharp pivot. We just looked at the massive, macro scale of nature's awakening, but let's bring it way down to the micro level, the human level. The source text poses this brilliant question: why couldn't he recreate a human? Seriously, if a supreme power can effortlessly orchestrate this massive, earth-wide revival of life every single year without fail, why would recreating one single human being be considered impossible? If the biological system can handle the infinite complexity of an entire planet coming back to life, why do we stumble over the idea of a single human resurrection?
Which leads us to Section 2, the ninth truth, or Dokuzenju Hakakat. To really unpack this, we're turning to the philosophical core of our presentation. We're looking at a specific argument from Islamic thought, referred to in our source text as the ninth truth. This framework takes the everyday biological reality of spring and elevates it into a highly structured, logical proof regarding the afterlife. Let's look at exactly how this argument is built.
Here's what the translated text actually says. Is it at all possible that a power which resurrects the dead, dried up earth, and in doing so simultaneously resurrects more than 300,000 species of living beings, each as astonishing as human resurrection, would not bring about the day of judgment and human resurrection? Pay close attention to the language there. It's arguing that the revival of every single one of those 300,000 species is just as astonishing and just as complex as the resurrection of all humanity. It frames the natural world around us as a continuous, undeniable demonstration of absolute power.
Moving on to Section 3, the logic of scale, or Ölçekmantığı. Okay, let's dive into this underlying logic. Philosophically speaking, this is known as an a fortiori argument. It's a very simple but incredibly powerful logical tool. It basically dictates that if you can accomplish a much harder, infinitely more complex task, well then, your ability to accomplish a much simpler, smaller task is practically guaranteed, right? Our source applies this exact logic to the ultimate concepts of life and death. This comparison brilliantly illustrates the point. Notice the stark contrast here on the screen. On the left side, we have the flawless, highly complex, simultaneous mass resurrection of 300,000 species happening globally every single year. On the right side, the recreation of a single human being. Placing them side by side visually hammers home how disproportionately small and simple the task on the right actually is by comparison. I mean, if the incomprehensible machinery on the left operates flawlessly every spring, doubting the task on the right suddenly begins to seem logically inconsistent, doesn't it?
This brings us to Section 4, the Quranic message, or Qur'an'ın deriliş mesajı. The crucial point we need to understand here is how the theological text actually utilize this exact biological cycle to validate their message. They aren't asking you to just believe in a vacuum. They point directly to the physical world you interact with every single day as literal proof of their claims. The source text grounds all of this philosophical logic in a direct scriptural reference.
Let's read this specific translated verse from Surah Ar-Rum, chapter 30, verse 19. He brings the living out of the dead, and brings the dead out of the living, and brings to life the earth after its lifelessness, and thus will you be brought out. It is remarkably explicit. It seamlessly threads the physical, visible revival of the dead earth directly into the ultimate spiritual revival of humanity. It's essentially saying, hey, look at what happens to the ground, that is exactly what will happen to you. The logic is completely unified. Which leaves us with a really profound question to wrap up this explainer. The next time the snow melts and you see those very first green shoots pushing out of the dead earth, ask yourself, have you ever viewed spring this way before? Have you ever looked at a blooming flower and seen not just a change in the weather, but a logical, undeniable blueprint for human eternity? It is such a fascinating lens through which to view the natural world. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible concept, and keep looking closely at the world around you.